What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Tavaria. I am back with another video to talk about my experience applying to law schools as a Black first-gen low-income student, and just kind of that whole experience of not knowing and things I regret and things I want future Black law students, future first-gen students, future low-income students to know about the law school application process. So we are gonna break this. I got some notes together because this is my second take on this. The first one I was doing a little bit too much rambling, okay? But I'm organized and I want this to be short, sweet, and concise. I really hope this helps a student that's in a similar situation as me, or is going to be in a similar situation as me pretty soon. So we're gonna break this up into 5 chapters, okay? And chapter 1 is gonna be a little bit of background about me. Chapter 2 is specifically about the LSAT. Chapter 3 is about in general what the law school application process looks like, what you need to do to apply to law schools. Chapter 4 is accept and denial, and then chapter 5 is where I'm going. If you are a student, middle school, high school, college, whatever it is, out of school, and you're thinking about law school and you have any of these identities, please stay tuned if you're thinking about law school, and I really hope this video helps. So let's get started. So first things first, background. So I graduated from the University of Georgia last year. I walked in May, but I finished all my classes August 2021. I studied a Bachelor of Arts in African American Studies and a double minor in Spanish and Women's Studies. I am, like I said, first-gen student. Neither of my parents went to college. Low income, and I identify as a Black female. So pretty much what I want to do with my channel going forward and with this video is increase representation of Black law students, but Black female law students. In the United States, we only have about 5% Black attorneys / lawyers, and we have 2% Black female lawyers / attorneys. So I really want to raise that, increase that representation, because I know how it feels to be looking on YouTube for someone that looks like you, has those same experiences, and you just can't find them. So I really hope this helps a student out there, a Black student out there, and really just shows them that it's possible, you know, to go to law school, and law just isn't, you know, old white men. So with that being said, please follow my law school page. It's at Legally Tavaria. On there I will be documenting just, you know, quick snapshots of my journey through law school. And then you can follow me on TikTok at Tavaria Smith. When I start school, I will also be sharing some quick videos on day in the life, you know, that sort of thing on there. But pretty much that is a little bit background about me. Oh wait, I am from Athens, Georgia, and the University of Georgia is located in Athens, Georgia. So that's going to be important when we get to chapter 5. So on to the next chapter. On to the next chapter, the LSAT. I'm just going to start off with one thing I regret about the LSAT. I regret not making the LSAT my #1 priority. So as a low-income student, throughout my 2 years at the University of Georgia in undergrad, I did work 2 jobs, on top of school, on top of being involved, on top of trying to, you know, continue having a social life. I did work 2 jobs. So I took the LSAT for the first time November of 2020, and then for the second time October 2021. My first time taking the test, I got a 149, and then the second time I got a 148. Now the LSAT ranges from a score from 120 to 180, so I was really slap dab in the middle, sort of, kind of. The fact that I'm low income kind of helped me with the LSAT. So I didn't have to pay for the LSAT. Now the LSAT usually runs people about $200. So if I would have took that test twice with no fee waiver, I would have been paying $400 for a test. So for my people that are looking at law school, that are first gen, low income, I say definitely look into the trying to get a fee waiver to help alleviate some of those costs. But definitely, like I said, I do regret not making it my priority. Law schools say that they look at you holistically, but I think there is a lot of heavy, you know, they look at that LSAT score for sure. I think that is like number one, what they're looking at, the LSAT and that GPA. So in my opinion, I feel like my personal statement, my extracurriculars, my recommendation letters, I think they were all good. It's just my LSAT score wasn't as competitive. Like everything else about me was competitive, but that LSAT score was not, because a lot of the schools that I were applying to were schools where the average LSAT score was 160 and up. Now, I will talk a little bit more about that in the part where I talk about the law school application and some of the places I applied to, but on my end, I should have did a little bit more research and applied to schools that were a little more around my LSAT score range. But as a first gen student, I didn't really know. Now with the LSAT, I started off self-studying with the LSAT trainer by, I think it's Mike Kim. Now I will link that below if you're interested. But I started off self-studying, and then I was given a free online LSAT prep course through TRIO, which is a federal funded program that we had at UGA. And then before I took the test the second time, I got a scholarship with Kaplan. So that knocked off like $1,000, and I paid $300 out of pocket for their prep course. But really, truthfully, just being transparent, I just wasn't disciplined. I had other priorities, and I didn't make the LSAT my priority. So my LSAT score definitely suffered. But at the end of the day, I was still accepted to a law school, so we're not gonna dread on that. But I will say, definitely make the LSAT your priority. Study for it. That is how you get scholarships. That is how you get accepted in top schools. And it's just, you know, they say they look at you holistically, but they're definitely looking at that LSAT score with a magnifying glass. Like, I'm not playing. Like, they are looking seriously as that LSAT score. But that is the LSAT, pretty much. Now, of course, I will say this. If y'all have questions specifically about anything, any of the chapters I talk about, please comment below and I will go deep into that. But I just don't want this to be like a 40-minute video. I want to get, you know, short, sweet, and to the point, okay? So going on to chapter 3, applying to law schools. So again, I'm going to start with one thing I regret. Okay, I regret focusing on the rank of law school. I say that because I don't know, I guess I was kind of more seeing it as this is undergrad, like how with undergrad I was trying to apply to schools, you know, that were well known, like had a good name, good reputation, you know, because like some people say that a school's name itself holds weight. That's kind of one of the reasons why I chose UGA. But I would say it was different circumstances versus undergrad in applying to law schools. Like, law school is definitely like, it's not the same as undergrad. Like, people keep saying it's not like undergrad, and I can tell it's not like undergrad based off the application process. They ask for a little bit more or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I feel like the law field still really isn't meant for people like me. So it's gonna be barriers and it's gonna be harder. And I shouldn't be focused on rank. So that's one thing I learned. I should not have been focused on rank like how I was. I should have looked at some schools that were more around my price range, more around my LSAT score range, and that were just more realistic. And that's kind of like the second part of what I regret, is not looking at tuition, because a lot of the schools that I was looking at was way out of my budget. I mean, some of these schools were like $90,000 per year. So 90,000 times 3, I could buy a house with that money. But you have to think about it. I would be in debt with that money. And specifically with what type of law I want to go into, like, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking like criminal defense or civil rights. Now, these aren't the type of law careers that make the most money. The ones that make the most money are going to be corporate. But I always said, I don't see myself in, you know, working in corporate. Like, I want to make a difference. So at the end of the day, I don't need to be going to a law school where I'm going to be 300K in debt, just because it's top 50. So that's kind of what I had to learn. And one thing that I would go back and do is just not apply to some of those schools just because of the name. Like, at the end of the day, their name don't matter. At the end of the day, I'm still going to have a Juris Doctorate. You feel me? So it really does not matter. Now, as to what you need when applying to law school, you will need a LSAT score. Some schools will accept the GRE for like master's program. But the LSAT, a personal statement, recommendation letters, a transcript, and the law school report. Now, you get this law school report from the lsac.org website, and that costs $45 itself, and you have to send that to each school. An additional cost that, as a first gen student, I did not know about before I started that process. But because I got that fee waiver, as I said before, my fee waiver covered 6 law school applications and 6 law school reports. So that's 6 schools I didn't have to pay anything for. It was completely free. But one thing, the hardest thing for me was kind of like the personal statement, just because some schools really didn't give you like a prompt on what they were looking for in the personal statement. So it was like, you know, talking to other people who went to like master's programs and they've done personal statements. They just talked about how it's really, you know, giving the admissions counselor, officer, whatever you want to call them, an idea of who you are outside of academics. But I feel like that can be so, that's like a wide, like, I mean, that could be anything. Like, you know, it's kind of hard to narrow that down when schools literally give you, some schools give you like 2 pages, 2-page maximum. Okay, some 3, some 4. But how do I sum up who Tavaria is, why Tavaria wants to do law, all in 2-3 pages? Like, I feel like that's, you know, that was what was killing me. And I worked very long and hard on my personal statement. That's what took up the most time. Another thing I will say with the recommendation letters, get to know your professors. Please get to know your professors. I struggled finding a professor, or like even thinking of a professor who could write me a recommendation letter, because I was in school for only 2 years. And then I want to say I was really in school pre-COVID one semester, okay? So after everything went virtual, I mean, that was pretty much hard, like, to really build that connection through a Zoom. So I just say, you know, definitely try to get to know your professors. So you will need some recommendation letters, and I think every law school required at least 1 from a professor. Not anyone else, but at least 1 from a professor. But that's pretty much the law school application process. Like I said, please, if you have any questions about anything, comment down below and I will go more into depth about that specifically. Now, chapter 4 is accept and denial. And I put this as this title because I mean, literally, that is something I had to learn throughout this process, because as someone who's, I feel like, has kind of been like an overachiever my whole life, like, it's just been expected that, like, I do good, like, I excel. And let's compare it to undergrad. Undergrad, I applied to 11 schools. I got accepted to 10. I got denied to 1. And the one I got denied to, I figured I was going to get denied because their scores, like their SAT, ACT scores was like up the roof, and I was not there. But I feel like what really helped me in like getting into undergrad was I had a 4.1 GPA. I had so many extracurriculars, like I was very involved. My SAT and ACT scores weren't the best, but they weren't horrible either. So it was just very different, you know, getting denial after denial after denial. I wasn't used to that, and I'm like, man, like, you know, I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, should I go to law school? Like, is there something wrong with me? You know, and just talking to other people, it just made me realize, like, I literally had someone say, girl, that's they loss, you know, like, you got accepted to a law school, like, you've got accepted to 2 or 3 now, like, you know, that denial don't mean nothing, that's their loss. And I really had to reflect and sit and think and, like, realize, like, yes, that's that school loss, like, at the end of the day, because I'm still going to excel, and I'm still, at the end of the day, going to be a lawyer, regardless of what school I go to. So I just, you know, had to say, like, denial does not make me unworthy. Like, you know, denial is okay, but, you know, I'm not gonna let that affect me and what the goals that I'm trying to chase. Okay, so I just put really quickly all the schools that I applied to, so you can kind of get an idea of what schools I was applying to. They're kind of everywhere, just FYI, but I did get accepted to Mercer University, FAMU, which is Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, and North Carolina Central University. I am still on the wait list at the University of Georgia, and I got denied to Duke University, Georgia State University, Howard University, University of North Carolina, and Emory University. And I, you know, before, I used to be so, like, I used to feel ashamed when people would ask me where I've applied to, and I used to be ashamed to tell people that I got denied. But now, I'm not ashamed. You know, I took the time to apply to these schools. These schools didn't see my worth. They want to focus on the LSAT score, I feel like. So that is their loss. But the schools I did get accepted to, I was their gain. You know, they gave me the possibility to be an asset to them. So, and I'm okay with that. That is pretty much accepting denial. Once again, if you go look at my Instagram, Legally Tavaria, you will see a cute little transparency post about that as well. On to the next chapter. Our last chapter is where I'm going. So I am going to North Carolina Central University. It's located in Durham, North Carolina. It's about 5 hours from Athens. And I will be doing their dual degree program, which is a JD or Juris Doctorate and a Master's of Public Administration. It is also one of 6 historically Black law schools. When I started the law school application process, I did say that I wanted to get an HBCU experience. That's kind of why I applied to FAMU, North Carolina Central, and Howard, because I kind of did want to get that experience. Like, I knew that law school was going to be hard. And some people have, like, reiterated that phrase several times, but I knew that it was going to be hard, but I knew that I kind of wanted to have that family feeling versus, you know, going to a PWI law school and on top of worrying about class and worrying about reading cases and briefing cases and outlining and all this, I'm worried about academics, but I'm also worried about feeling out of place, because I know how it felt going to UGA, being like one of 2 black people in a class, and how, you know, it just feel like, it's like, it makes yourself like very self-conscious. Like, I feel like I stood out, you know, like if I say something wrong, you know, everybody looking at me. So I just didn't want that feeling again in law school, when I know on top of everything, I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to be stressed to the max. So I shouldn't have to think about race. You feel me? So that's one thing I was like, I kind of want to go to a HBCU. So they also gave me a scholarship. That is another reason why I chose them. And I like the location. Like I've said before, I don't know where this came from, but I've said before that I could see myself permanently living in like North Carolina. I feel like it has a ton of major cities. I feel like it's very progressive. It's not as fast paced as Atlanta, but it's nowhere near slow country, you know, nothing to do like Athens, Georgia. So that's kind of what motivated me to choose North Carolina. But I mean, in total, I hope if you get anything from this, I hope that, like I said, if you're a black student out there, if you are a low income student, if you're a first gen student, I hope if you're thinking about law school, I really hope this put some ideas in your mind. Like, especially if you're planning on taking the LSAT soon, I hope you go look into that fee waiver. If you're about to start that process, like if there's any questions, please, like I said, please don't hesitate to comment below and let me know, and I will do another video. But I really hope this video motivates a student like me, because I know I was looking for it, couldn't really find it. Because if you go on YouTube and you look up like black law students, I mean, these girls, like people I've seen, like are doing amazing. Like they're at Harvard, but I'm not going to no Harvard. I wouldn't get it. No, I wouldn't get into Harvard. So I wanted this to be like a little bit more realistic, you know, for my people that feel like they can't go nowhere. Yes, you can. A denial does not mean nothing. A denial does not make you unworthy. And please, if you're thinking about law, do it. We need more people of color in law, period. We need new ideas. We need people that are open-minded if we're going to change anything in this country. But I think I am rambling enough, so I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like, comment, and please go follow all my social media if you're interested in joining me on this journey. Bye.